Alright, what is going on everyone, and welcome back to episode 5 of my beginner's guide to success. And in this episode we're going to be talking about which elemental staff is right for you. Now I'm going to go over the pros and cons of each of them and which one would best suit you. Now I could go over some advanced tips like which one is like the best in the set and all of the different ones, but just to keep this for beginners more specifically, the Torix Pact is an easy to craft one and almost everyone can get it. So don't worry about it being legendary. I'm just going to go over the enchantments and the traits on the bottom of it and which element should be good for you. So first of all, for PvP and PvE, this one is going to be a little bit different depending on what you do. But let's say you are a vampire or a werewolf. If you are a vampire, obviously you're more like prone to fire damage. So what you would want to use to counter that would be an Inferno Staff. And what you would want to do to add extra damage and fire is the enchantment, which you add more fire damage. So let's equip this one and the restoration staff just right now. Oh, whatever.
You'd best mind your step.
So let's start with the Inferno Staff. Why should you use this one in general? If you are a Dragon Knight, I personally use a destruction staff that's pure flame. And the reasoning is because as a Dragon Knight, most of your abilities are fire damage, and you want to scale your stuff off of fire just to maximize damage and stuff. So look at all your skills and see which one would be suited for you. If you're just doing this for PvE, it doesn't really matter for the most part, but for PvP specifically, you might want to optimize it just a little bit. So what you should have if you are facing a lot of vampires, just take an Inferno Staff, increase it with the fire enchantment, which does an additional flame damage set. And the trait, honestly, you can make anything you want, so like literally anyone can make anything, so it doesn't really matter. If you don't have Nirnhoned, which is the most rare trait on the item, the next one I would go with is the one where you're piercing armor, which is, you require a ruby for that. I don't remember the exact item, but you need a ruby and a resist penetration by slightly a little bit less, but it's significantly cheaper. So let's say you're a beginner for doing that. Oh yeah, it's called Sharpened. And what it does is essentially the same thing as Nirnhoned, except it scales like a few % less, but pretty much anyone can pick it up in price. It's really easy to get, and you can get it. So the Lightning Staff. Let's talk about this one for a little bit. Now, the reason why most people, or some people, would use Lightning Staff is because of the criticals. And another reason I enchanted this one with poison with my Lightning Staff is because if you are a werewolf, you obviously take a little bit more in poison damage. So regardless of if you are using a Lightning Staff, fire and or poison is generally the better ones to choose, because if you're doing PvP, chances are someone is going to be either a werewolf or vampire. It's kind of easy to figure out. In PvP, the real way to figure out if someone is a vampire is you look at their face, and if it's like glowing red eyes, that's how you know they're a vampire. So that's why people usually wear costumes to mask everything up. But if you see a guy without a mask and he looks like he's a vampire, then chances are he is. So then you would want to switch up to your fire staff, or just deal extra flame damage on your staff, and you'll generally kill people easier. However, if this is PvP or PvE, generally it's kind of obvious to tell if it's a vampire or werewolf or whatnot. So it's slightly easier to just kind of determine what they are. Just small tips to look at their face, and that's generally how you know. So back to the Lightning Staff. When should you use the Lightning Staff if you're doing PvE? If you're playing a sorcerer, you may notice that you have a storm calling, a whole skill line of storm calling, and all of these skills are pretty much lightning and or have some sort of electrical abilities in it. So these not they don't necessarily scale with lightning damage, but if you do stack it, lightning damage is generally a good thing to have. As you can see, some of these abilities are fully lightning. So that's the reasoning behind it. Plus some abilities like over here, they just increase spell power and all that stuff. So if you want to look at your destruction staff, everything is just there. So with that said, keep in mind what kind of staff you have. And there's a tri-focused ability right now. If you like, it depends on what staff you have. This is kind of important to take a look at as well. Put some points into it and just max everything out. I was kind of doing some testing, so you just reset often. So now take a look at the tri-focus ability, and when you're using a heavy attack, depends on what ability you use. So if you're using a heavy fire attack, you do 12% extra damage, and if you're using a frost attack, you do or you grant a shield around you that absorbs some damage. And if you're using a shock thingy, it attacks nearby enemies, so it's pretty much splash, AoE, whatever you want to call it. And that's generally the reasoning why this is a very important skill to have with your staff and what you determine. So let's go on to our next one. It's the ice staff. Generally no one ever uses an ice staff. You're either using a fire, a lightning, or a restoration staff. Ice staff, there's no real combos with it other than to slow someone down. But at that point, you might as well just use an Inferno or lightning staff. The only time I've seen people use ice staffs is in PvE, just to slow down enemies, but in PvP it's never really used. So that's really all I have to say about that. And generally, granting a shield around you with the tri-focus ability is not really that important, because if you're doing PvP anyway, you're probably going to be in a small group with people. Generally, you're going to have a tank or a healer, so it's not really as important. But if you want to use an ice staff, I would highly recommend using it for PvE, just grinding mobs or whatever, questing. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that one. And finally is our restoration staff. You're most likely going to be using this as a healer, and or if you have a lot of healing abilities. The restoration staff has its own skill line, actually, and all these abilities. I made another Nightblade video going over some of these skills and what I used with the restoration staff. But overall, the only reason you're going to use this is to heal, and that's generally its only intention. My enchantment I used was granting a shield around you, because if you're using a restoration staff, you're more likely to be attacked in PvP, just because people always take down the healer first. That goes for any game, honestly, any PvP MMO game. So always take down the healer first, and then yeah. So what you're gonna want to do is grant a shield around you, so you're harder to kill while people are attacking you. Your DPS team just goes in on that, and you just heal them up. So that's the reasoning I chose the hardening enchantment, which grants extra point shield for you. And the reason why you have all of these, you can always change the enchantments. You just right click it, enchant, and then what you see here, you just pick what you want, and then you could change it up. But those are, in my opinion, the best if you're using a lightning staff. It doesn't really matter, fire or poison is good. Same with the Inferno, but just like if you're using an Inferno staff, most likely I would just stack additional fire damage. Generally, because the only people I see using Inferno staff are usually Dragon Knights, because all their skills are fire based and they actually have a scaling for it. So more fire damage, more damage, more DPS, everything. That's good. And last thing before we wrap up is the set. Now, I know this is still, I'm gonna like stray away from the beginner's guide, but as I mentioned, Torx Pact is the easiest set to craft. And the reason why I chose the Torx Pact is because of the two-piece set. As you can see right here, if you have 2 items, you get an additional spell damage. So it's generally one of the better sets to get. Now, understandably, you can craft a Veteran Rank 1 to Veteran Rank 14 Torx Pack set, or even all the items as well. This is a craftable, complete set. So all the armor you want, all the staffs can be crafted at your own will. So that's one I chose as an easier one. But I guess the best staff, I would say, there is no right or wrong answer, but this is just the general one I would choose in my opinion. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, learned a little bit about the different staffs and what you should use for enchants and which classes are like the best optimized for it. So with that said, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like. If you didn't, give it a dislike and let me know how I can improve. Also, if you would like to see more ESO guides, you can check out the bottom left of the video, click the annotation, and if you are watching this on mobile and can't click it, I will leave a link in the description so you can check out the playlist as well. So with that said, I hope you guys consider subscribing. I do more ESO videos, and I generally started my channel off as a Let's Play channel, so you guys are going to see other games there as well. So hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys later.